Oh, I see Stacy now. Hello.
Hello. Sorry for late. I was trying to listen to the school board meeting right up until I had to be here. So.
I understand. Oh, I see Stacy now. Hello.
Hello. Sorry for late. I was trying to listen to the school board meeting right up until I had to be here. So.
I understand.
Can you hear me? Melissa, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Dave.
Okay, I was having a problem getting the sound to work.
Sorry about that. That was Shirley. She's having some technical difficulties, so she's going to call in.
Looks like Dave is having snacks and he didn't bring enough for everybody.
Nope, I didn't bring any for you.
I tell you what, watching you set up reminds me of Dr. Virax. When we used to do Skype at the board meeting and he'd be in Florida and he kept thinking that if he could see better if he got closer to the camera and he'd stick his head up here like this. He was eating peanut butter one night and we could almost see his nose hairs.
Okay, Melissa, so my clock, is always a different time from the rest of you all, but it's getting kind of close. Do we have everyone to start or are we waiting still?
We could probably go ahead and start, and then hopefully Shirley will be able to join us here in a minute.
Okay.
Kelly, if you could just keep an eye on the participants and let her in when, thank you.
Okay. Then I will go ahead and call our meeting to order. It's 6:30 my time. I would like to welcome everyone to our Board of Trustees meeting today, July 20th, 2020. Do we have anything that we need to add to our agenda?
I do have a couple changes this time.
Okay.
I'll add under the librarian's report, a question on grandfathering policy. To correct a typo, our next meeting is scheduled for August 17th, not July 20th, that's today. And then just to respect Anthony and RJ's time, we'll discuss refinancing bonds after approval of the minutes before we start the reports.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we need an approval of the minutes of the June 15th board meeting. Are there any correction to our minutes? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, the minutes are approved as written. Okay, if we could go ahead and please have Anthony Strong and RJ Palmer with Compass Municipal Advisors present on refinancing bonds.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chairperson, and it's a pleasure to be here with the group this evening and for me to see all kinds of familiar faces when I go somewhere to a meeting. Some of you may or may not know, once I retired 2 years ago, and I'm really glad with what's going on. I'm not a school superintendent right now. To be dealing with the things that they're dealing with tonight all across the state. Started work for a municipal advisory firm, basically doing business development for the school sides and school division. And I've just recently changed firms and gone to work with Compass Municipal Advisors. Compass, in addition to school work, also does city county work, extension, library boards, and those kinds of things. So when I started in middle of June and they were looking at refinances and possible refinances, your bond issue that you have that's on the books came up, and they asked me if I knew of anyone with the board or any connections. And it just so happened the day that they brought it up, was having dinner and ran into Stacy and asked her some questions about it. And I saw David Church the following weekend, and both of them directed me back to contact Melissa and ask her about what was going on in the agenda. So I appreciate their guidance and appreciate Melissa working it out where we could be on the agenda tonight to talk about it. You know, library boards are just like school districts. When you issue bonds for new buildings, during the course of that time, there's a period where they can be refinanced. And if they can save the board's money, it's an advantage to you as the library district to be able to do that. So RJ Palmer is one of our senior vice presidents and is on as well. I think Melissa sent you a copy of an email today that has some information that RJ is going to go over and kind of talk about what our firm does and how we do that, which is very similar to your other advisory firm that you've been dealing with. So I'll turn it over to RJ.
Thank you, Dr. Strong. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Ms. Bird. We appreciate the opportunity. So you did in fact send that little one-page saving summary to the board members?
Yes.
So I mean, this is a pretty straightforward transaction. So we are simply, this is an effort to just reduce the interest rate. We're not changing the structure of the maturity date. It will mature in 2042 as originally planned and issued, with savings of about $306,000 estimated for the library district. As Dr. Strong mentioned, we do work across Kentucky. We also do a lot of work in South Carolina. So I think one of the added benefits that we could potentially bring to the board is we have a very large market share in South Carolina school districts. And they're not, the people who purchase your debt tend to be a little regional. So we have the ability to possibly bring additional bids to the table for you. And obviously more competition means a lower cost of money for the library district. And ultimately, as fiduciary to you, that's what our objective is, and that's what our charge is. Also, we are an independent municipal advisor, which means that we don't bid on debt. We don't underwrite debt or purchase debt and then try to resell it in the retail market. We're simply your partner to try to structure a deal and get you the lowest cost of capital possible. I think that there are other firms who do similar work that we do, who work on both sides of the transaction. And so I think that we have the added advantage that by using us, you don't eliminate a potential bidder who does a lot of underwriting work in the state of Kentucky. I think that's a real advantage for us and something that we can bring to the table for the library district if it's something that you would like to consider.
I think the one thing we talked about, and I kind of mentioned with Melissa, is that, and I understand y'all have dealt with Baird in the past, and I know in the agreement that we saw, Baird is one of those agencies that buys the issues as well as your advisor. So, you gain at least one potential bidder if we were your advisor in terms of doing that. And the other thing is I had shared with Melissa is that, from our, my end of it, you're dealing with somebody local. RJ has dealt with Judge Fields on some city council issues, so they're familiar with the area. You've got somebody there. In addition to the fact that based on my understanding from what y'all were quoted fees wise, our fees were about $6,000 or $7,000 cheaper in terms of doing that. So, those are a couple other things in terms of in addition to potentially more bidders from our market in South Carolina that would help, put more people there, maybe looking at your issue and potentially save you more money.
I do have one question for you all. Beyond refinancing bonds, what do you also offer additional services? I know Bard helps us with the rating for Standard & Poor's. They handle all of our annual financial reporting information. What do you all do as that stuff goes?
Likewise, actually, I just had a ratings call with the library district in Eastern Kentucky this past Thursday. We would continue to assist the district in that process because having that rating also gives you access to a lower cost of funds. And I think, Ms. Bird, you were referring to the continuing disclosure requirement that when you issue public debt, you are telling the marketplace that on a timely basis, you will report your audits and your financial information to them. And yes, we do that for our clients as well. We try to assist you so that we have good timing. Sometimes library districts aren't a great offender. Cities and counties are a little different story to try to get those audits done in a timely manner. But we want to make sure that we know what our schedule is so that we're reporting and we're not in violation of that continuing disclosure agreement. We would certainly assist with that. We've also looked at the finances of the library district, and we agree with the rating process and think that it's that AA category, which is very positive for your library district.
RJ, if they wanted to make the change, what exactly would they have to do at this point to kind of guide them through that process?
I think you shared earlier that they had signed an agreement with Baird. Like most agreements, ours included, there's a 30-day out within those agreements. And we have already done, I think, the work necessary on the financial review side, that if they wanted to do that, we could pick this project up and execute this transaction in a very timely manner and very seamlessly.
So it would take action for us to send an agreement and them to accept that. And then also they'd have to send a letter to Baird opting out of theirs.
That's correct.
Okay. Any questions from anyone?
You did say it would be about $7,000 cheaper. Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Melissa I'm trying to think, I know, was that the number I shared with you? I know we talked about that. And I listed, it's between $6,000 and $7,000 less. I think I put that in an email to you, and I was looking for that before, but I think it was 7.
Yeah, I think 7 is what you told me over the phone.
Right, okay.
And I do know that we would be responsible for paying any fees to Bard incurred so far. So I'm not sure, what the difference in actual savings in that would be.
Typically, we're transaction oriented. So much of the work that kind of we've done to actually look at this refinancing opportunity, and much of the work that they have done to this point is necessary for the transaction. And we're not charging fees on an hourly basis. We're charging on the successful execution of the transaction. I would be surprised if they would ask for anything, but I obviously can't speak for them.
And that's pretty common to what I saw in the school side too, is when the companies, it's just like I mentioned earlier, when our people found that y'all had an issue that was up that could be refinanced. We are looking at that all the time with different agencies, and they are too. So I mean, it's not unusual that was on their radar to look at and do, and they would be doing that anyway. So, and it's really not a lot of effort in terms of doing that. That would be a lot of fee-based or structure.
Did anybody else have any questions for them?
I can't believe Dave's quiet.
Push the cat out of the picture.
That $7,000 mentioned, is that for 1 year?
No, that's for the one transaction. There's not an annual fee.
Okay.
It is purely transactional based. So just for this particular transaction.
Okay.
And then we would go ahead and do the things that Melissa had asked in terms of helping with, that's just part of moving forward with that. As long as that we would be your advisory firm, we would continue to help you do that.
And Melissa, I'm happy to send you a list of additional library districts, or to Madam Chair, if you'd like to confer with them that we've worked with across the state, I'd be happy to share that with you as well.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
And I think Judge Fields too could reference experience with working with the firm.
We actually go back to Judge Bertram.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been there for a while.
But unless there's any other questions, I just want to tell all of you, I appreciate, giving us an opportunity to talk to you tonight and to join you in your meeting kind of late notice and be a part of that. And then RJ will get Melissa that information, and then we'll wait to hear from you and go from there.
Okay. Thank you for the information. I appreciate it.
Madam Chair, thank you
Thanks,
very much.
Scott.
Members of the board, we appreciate you letting us join tonight.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Take care, guys.
You
Okay.
too.
Okay. Do we want to have a discussion on whether to move forward with our current or if we would like to change? Does anybody have any thoughts?
I think we should
Or
wait till we
comments?
get the paperwork in. Let's look it over, and I'm 100%. Since Melissa's dealing with it anyways, I'm 100% just backing Melissa at this point because she's the one dealing with it anyways.
And I will say, I don't know if you had a chance to look through everything that you had sent. I know it was a great deal of information, but he has worked with our library since 2007. Did a great deal of work the CDBG, the grant that we got when we built the new library, just helping, at that minuscule scale with the entire process. And like I mentioned before, he does also help with all of the annual disclosure information and all of that, which that would be the same. I think it would be definitely good to check with the libraries that they have worked with already, the Compass has. I know if put something out on the list, asking who they might recommend as far as a financial advisor. BARD is number one on that recommendation list. They're a huge supporter of libraries. They're at our conferences that we go to annually, and they've worked with a ton of libraries. So just to put that out there, I think somebody not familiar with public libraries is a good thing.
I say we
Do you
could
think,
table this till next month, unless Dave wants to say something, but we can just table it for a month.
I would be interested in that information about other libraries. Or even on a local level, our judge executive, school systems, whoever has switched to them, but especially obviously libraries, to kind of hear how the process went, if it went as smooth as it sounds like it would, if they're satisfied with the quality of service. At the end of the day, I struggle because I feel loyalty is important, but also $7,000 is, $7,000 at a time when we're not for sure how our future funding is going to look or what our financial situation could be moving forward. Like I said, I'm all for tabling it till we get some of that information and can reach out to some other libraries who have worked with them and get that information before we make a decision. I do think, obviously cost savings we have to take into consideration because, it's money that's very important to us now because we may not have it later. But at the same time, I do feel like that decision can't be made until we get firsthand input from people who have used them.
I agree with that. And Melissa, do you think, is there, I know we signed with the other people already, but since somebody's coming in and wanting us to change, is there anything like the bartering, can you do that with them, or are they set in stone? If we decide to go with these people, if they seem really good, then we get to 7,000, or if you're really happy because all the years you work with them, would they be up for like a discount, because $7,000, like Stacy said, it's a chunk of change, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And especially when we're not going to get much money at all from the state, the way it sounds like this year because of the COVID trouble and everything.
Right.
I
Yeah.
didn't know if there was a bartering if you could do that or not. I don't know how that works. I've never been through this before.
Right. And I'm not 100% sure, but I can check with Chip on that. I mean, because if they could knock down their fee $7,000, then I think that would show that they're trying to work more with us. And two, the other thing to consider is, I was advised that if we choose to switch companies, that we want to do so with a legal advisor. So, out of that $7,000 savings, there's also going to be legal fees on top of that. So just something else to think about.
Do we have a library lawyer, or would you have to go out and get one for legal counsel or something like that?
We do. We have, oh my goodness, what is his name? We do have a lawyer on retainer. I'm sorry, I'm having a brain moment and I just can't think of his name. They're out of Campbell County.
That's fine.
Okay. And
Okay.
Chip did request that he might be able to come to next month's meeting, just to also meet with you, to have that follow-up opportunity. So I can get with Chip and ask about the fee and have him come to the next meeting, gather the information from Compass on what other libraries that they've worked with, so that I can contact those directors and see how that process went.
Hey,
I think that
Melissa,
sounds good.
Melissa, were we even unhappy with what was going on with BART, or they just asked us to look in, so we were fine. We were fine the way we were. They're just
Right.
giving us a bid of what they. Okay, there's no problem with what's going on now with the bonds. It's just we're just having someone give us a bid on the job. Okay.
Right.
Which can happen any month, anytime someone could come in and offer their services to us. It's up to us to say yes or no. Okay.
Right.
I'll say table it for a month and get the information we need. But if we're happy where we're at, I don't see why we should take chances of, I know it's $7,000, but it's the fact of like, all of a sudden we just changed and it's like, oh no, now, they're not backing libraries, they're not supporting us in different ways because, that's the support you need, not just our library, but all libraries across the board to help work together. So I'd ask us to table it and we'll talk about it next month.
And we do need a motion to table. So Mike, are you making
I'll motion.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it. I'll
Okay.
second it.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, we'll table this until next month. All right, if we could please move on to our reports. May we please have the treasurer's report?
All right. We had a voting balance on May 31st of $1,127,927. Our income for June was $1,187. Our expenses for June were $1,316, leaving us with an ending balance on June 30th of $1,515,927. $999. At the bottom, it does show the first column there is the amendments. It includes the amendments submitted to the DLG on last year's budget and the actuals. And then the second here is all of the breakdowns from those amendments.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the June check register and the financial report?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right, thank you. If we can move on to our librarian's report, please.
The first thing is the chief stats. Excuse me. Just a note on the stats. So we opened our drive-through up on June 8th. We opened the lobby up on June 17th, about midday. And then Bill started delivery on June 20th. So a note on patron visits. So we went from opened the library of having an average of 30 patrons per day to last week we had about 50, an average of 50 patrons per day. So we are starting to see an increase in people coming into the library. Our virtual programs, we had three programs with a total of 182 attendees. For summer reading so far, for the reading portion, we have 49 total participants. A lot lower than normal. Our activity kits. So this is kind of one of the programs that we're doing as part of summer reading, since we can't have in-person programs, and that has just been phenomenal. These guys have been so creative and done such a great job on making these. We've ran out every single time. So in the 2 weeks in June that we were doing these, we gave out a total of 287 kits. For our July programs, Fran doing Movers and Shakers of Pendleton County. I didn't know that Pendleton County had a tie to Yellowstone National Park or the interstate system or anything like that. So she tells us all about that. We're continuing the Page Turner adventures and then also continuing the activity kits. We also just added a new, if you want to call it a program or a database, just a service. It's called Dial a Story. Call this phone number and have a story read to them over the phone. The next thing is the fiscal year stats. So obviously they're a lot lower compared to last year. But if you consider that we were closed for 3 months in the majority of June, you could assume that we would have at least a 27% decrease in our circulation stats. So really when you adjust for that, we're pretty close to even with what the stats would have been last year. Programs, I would say we're pretty close to even as well, just because we use a higher program number and attendee rate just with summer reading. So it's not as bad as what it looks, so that's a good thing. So for the COVID response and what we're currently doing, so our current hours are Monday through Thursday, 11 to 7, Friday and Saturday, 9 to 5. We are closed on Sunday. The current plan right now is just to keep those hours through August, and continue to reevaluate monthly on whether we're able to add any additional hours back in. The big reason for not being able to add more hours is just that 50% limitation on how many staff we can have in the library. Of course, we continue to do all of the cleaning of the high-touch surfaces. Our occupancy has increased, but again, we're not coming close to that. We are now, with the new governor's orders, requiring masks, and we're still primarily doing that through signage. We are now having notary service on Tuesdays, and we're continuing with all of the limited seating, limited computers, and all of those kind of limitations. Earlier today, and I just read this a little bit before we started the meeting, Battelle released the second set of results from their ongoing study. So this set was on archive materials, glossy paper, board books, magazines, and what they did is they mimicked how the books would be either stacked or shelved on library shelves. So with that, the results show that the virus was not detectable on glossy pages or board books after 4 days, or at 4 days. And then at 4 days, it showed trace amounts left on magazines. So with this new information, I think it would be in our best interest to increase the amount of time that we're quarantining materials returned, probably to 5 days instead of the 3 that we're doing now. And I do have kind of one question for you all, which is, other than an executive order from the governor requiring that we closed in-person services, is there anything that you all feel that we should strongly consider if needing to move back to drive-through only services?
I mean, I don't know if I can quantify like a specific thing. I mean, really, I defer to what you feel is safest for our staff. You know, on a state level, we're obviously seeing things not trending very well right now. On a county level, I mean, I know we've been picking up a few more cases the last several days. So, you know, short of him shutting things down, I really think it, if you guys feel uncomfortable, or if we are seeing a uptick in our own community, or if it gets to where you are having a difficult time enforcing the guidelines, you know, if we're having a lot of patrons who aren't, you know, following the things that we ask them to do, then I mean, I like I said, I don't know how to set a rubric for that and say, if this happens, this happens. But I feel like a lot of it is based off of how you feel safety is for the staff and the patrons, of course. You know, I wish I had a hard, fast thing to say, but I mean, that's really it for me. I keep telling everybody, you know, it's a fluid situation. That's all, you know, I don't know. Right. But obviously things are not heading in the direction I had hoped. I mean, I'm sure everybody had hoped it would be by now. I thought by now we would be, on a steep decline, and instead it looks like things might be headed in the other direction. My concern is I don't know how easy it will be for the governor to do anything like that. I know there's a lot of opposition and pressure and other people stepping in. So I hate to say that the only time we could switch back to drive-through only or cut services would be if he said we had to, because I don't know that he will be able to, or at least he's going to have a lot of fight to get those things through. So I do want us to have the ability to shut down when we feel it's necessary. How we calculate that, I'm not sure. Other than I do want you guys to feel like if the situation is unsafe or uncomfortable, that I don't know how we would go about that, if we would vote on that, but I always want you guys to feel like you can come to us and say that, and I would always support you guys being safest.
And I will say, just to add to that, because there are some libraries I don't feel like they're in this, because like you said, Pendleton County number of cases is not escalating like it is in other areas. I know there are some libraries who they're looking at a significant number of cases in their county, up to 100 new cases. And I think at that point, yeah, we definitely want to consider moving backwards, which is what they're doing right now. And really, guidance from the health department is who I would probably check with and confer with most on that. I just wanted, to make sure to give you all the opportunity to say if you have any concerns on your all side. And I will add, for the most part, our patrons have been great. Really wearing, the masks correctly, but they're at least making an effort for the most part. So we luckily haven't had a whole lot of negative pushback. So that's definitely a good thing.
Good.
I turn all my power over to you, Melissa. If you feel the decision that, like Stacey said, if it's unsafe when you want to close, I have no problem with you closing down, saying, yeah, it's unsafe, and leave it up to you to make the decision. I mean, if you have to text us and we have to be emergency, yeah, go ahead. We have that power too to say, yeah, go ahead. So yeah, it's in your court right now.
Okay. For maintenance, fixed the bank where the city had repaired the leak and completed the spring cleanup and landscaping projects. We had Larry Van Landingham. The leak
Melissa, I'm sorry to interrupt. You're breaking up. It's very hard to follow what you're saying. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm only getting every other word. Is anybody else having issues?
Yeah, the same
I
thing.
am too.
Sorry.
Okay.
Let's see. Is that any better?
I can hear you there, yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so Larry Van Landingham fixed the leaking kitchen sink in our break room. We also had Seco repair the buzzing lights in the cupola and the staff break room also. We're having some issues with our front door, so we had a locksmith come look at it, and parts are ordered for that. And then DeBra Kemple, they changed the filters, did quarterly maintenance, and they repaired the units for the meeting room and the lobby. It's just another issue where those seals are going bad with time. For professional activities, I continue to attend the directors meeting, the regional meetings, and the Pendleton County Community Wellness Coalition meeting. And Tanya continues to attend the regional youth meetings. One cool thing that we're looking into with the Community Wellness Coalition is the possibility of doing a combined online newsletter. And so we have it through Circle right now, and Boone County does kind of the same thing. They have what they call Your Boone County, and it's the library, the government, and the school systems. So we're looking at possibly creating that kind of partnership to where we could all send this information out in a single newsletter, and just everybody getting information from multiple entities instead of nobody really knowing what anybody else is doing. So that may be a really good opportunity for us. Trish and Tanya both won a $250 scholarship for the classes that they're taking this fall. So congratulations to them. We do have a new teen program assistant now. We kind of, with everything going on, delayed hiring for that position for a little while. But we've hired Regine Blevins, and she began training on July 15th. And then Jacob, who was our teen program assistant, has officially moved into outreach assistant. So he's begun training on that last week also. For the DLG, I've submitted the registration, budget amendments, and year-end actuals, and the budget estimates for the next year, for 2021. That's been kind of interesting. Their website isn't working for the government entities. So this information isn't showing on the public side yet either. It's been a whole kind of mess, but we're getting that taken care of. For tax, so I put this in my report section because normally we have tax rates on the agenda for you all to start working on setting. But again, with COVID, this has all kind of been delayed. We've not received any of the information from KDLA yet, because they can't calculate our tax rates until they receive the certified valuations. The 45-day time limit doesn't start counting until all of that's actually certified by revenue. And also another update from KDLA was just to let you all know that the changes in the tax law, where we have to have fiscal court approval for rate overcompensating, that doesn't take effect until next year. I did contact the Pendleton PVA, and they're hopeful that we'll be able to get tax rates set in time for them to be able to send out the tax bills in October. So we're just kind of playing the waiting game right now as far as that goes. For the census quote, so Kelly's been working on this to get the census quilt displayed in the library. So that'll be at the library the end of July through mid-August. We won't be able to have the binder that gives the description for all of the quilt blocks, just because of COVID, of course. But we are going to have copies specifically for the Pendleton design available. Okay, so we had we had an employee ask about grandfathering our certification policy from back when we did the staff restructuring. So we had two employees impacted at that time who were promoted to new positions. We had changed the structuring for certification from 10 cents per class up to a maximum of 50 cents. And she brought this to a flat 50 cents upon receiving certification. Sorry, excuse me. So I contacted legal counsel with KCO just to check on how all of this is supposed to work. And what they said what we did was perfectly fine. They said because the old positions were dissolved, the old policy couldn't apply to new positions created. So because the new positions were created, they were promotions. Both of these employees received the rate increase to get to the new starting salary for the new position. Then all is well. So just to update you all that came up. Okay. That's it for my report.
Okay, if we can have the regional librarians report.
And that includes some training information. They have moved the deadline for the annual report back to September 30th. So you'll see that on a later agenda than what you usually do. And then they also provided an updated calendar through the end of the year.
Okay. All right, if we will move to our old business, is there any update on the sale of our Highway 27 property?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. Then we can move to our new business. First one, the policy reviews, the code of ethics and conflict of interest statement, please.
Has everyone had a chance to review this policy? There's no changes. This is just kind of an annual review. And I do at some the acknowledgement page, if you all could fill that out and drop that off to me at the library whenever you're in town. We do need to complete that annually as well.
All right, the next item is board officers.
So this is just annually. We need to elect officers. They can be kept the same. They can be changed. It's up to all of you all. So just to run through what we have right now. Currently, April is the president. Mike is vice president. Shirley is secretary. And Stacy is treasurer. And then Mike is a member. So if we want to keep those the same, we would just need a motion. If we want to make changes, somebody just nominate someone.
If they're happy, I'm happy with staying the same.
Same.
Okay, what about you, Mike?
Yeah, I'm the same. I can't believe it's been a year already. So I've been flew right by.
Okay, do I have a motion then to keep the board as we have it currently?
I'll
Motion.
make the motion.
Okay.
We all motions.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, me, Dave, whatever. Really.
Put us all on a first and a second.
All right, all those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. We will keep
Hey.
them as stated.
Hey, Melissa, I had one question when you're talking about the COVID with the library. I noticed when I was in there one day, the magazine rack out front, that people just throw their magazines in. Is that something that we sanitize or just keep, or is that something that people just kind of throw their old magazines in and people kind of take the old magazines? Because I don't know if that'd be an issue later on or not.
A lot of times with the magazines, they'll actually either drop them in the drop box or they give them to staff as a donation. So we can just quarantine those with
Okay.
the donations.
That's cool. I was making sure, like, I figured that's what you were doing, but I didn't know if it was just like people just put them in there or not. They bring them to you. And that's
Right. And I mean, it's the possibility there that somebody does throw something in there. But then it's kind of going back to what the health department had said. You can't protect every single little thing. So it's kind of a at your own risk type thing.
Yeah.
Okay, if I may ask a question before we move on, I'm just wanting to double check to make sure that I have this correct. If we are going to remain open, then we're going to keep following the same procedure that we did with the signage of the checks. There will be 2 signatures. But if we decide to close back down with the drive-through service, are we going back to just 1 signature is all we need for the checks?
I believe the motion that was made was that we could do 1 signature through the state of emergency. So
Okay.
until that state of emergency is done away with, then we can still continue with just the 1 signature.
That's what I thought it was as well.
Okay. Okay, I was just making sure. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, so if we don't have any other discussion, then we can move on to the refinancing of the bonds, which I know we've already kind of talked about that. Do we need to add anything else, or are we okay to just kind of gloss over that?
Yeah, I think we're good with having made the motion to table.
Okay.
Melissa, when you get that information from the other libraries, can you email that to us or something so that we have time to look it over before next meeting?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, is there anything else before we move on to adjournment?
Are we just good? Everything's going to be the same next meeting, right? With having a Zoom like this?
I think that would be best. I know the governor did issue an order to drop groups back down to 10. And then 2, we're still quarantining in our meeting room and it's still plumb full of furniture. So it may be best for us just to continue virtually again next month.
Okay.
That's fine with me.
Okay. All right, well, if there's nothing else, then we will go ahead and move to adjourn our meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, well, I want to thank everyone for participating tonight, and I will look forward to seeing you all again on August 17th. I can't believe it. We're moving towards school starting. Hopefully.
I don't know. I'm glad we're not in that meeting tonight about the school board, though.
You and me both.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have a good week.
All right, you too. See you.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.